everybody. It's your pal JR again, and welcome to Assume I'm an Idiot, where we take complicated topics and run them through a gristmill until even a toddler can safely ingest them. I am the idiot.
Oh my God, he's an idiot.
And on this podcast, we'll be exploring everything from silly fun facts that everyone should know to bigger, more adult stuff like science, education, entertainment, social issues, and so much more. Broken down without corporate talk or industry speak, so even a nearsighted Neanderthal like me can understand. So lean back, take your feet off the pedals and your hand off the brake, and let the information blow through your hair as you coast downhill with reckless disregard for everyone's safety. Today is going to be a little different than other episodes, as I'm going to skip all the random facts and rantings and get right into my guests. This is the second half of a two-part episode. Is it really that hard to be an actor? And boy, did I hit the jackpot with my three amazingly talented guests. What I intended to be a simple, this is how you do it explanation of the acting biz turned into something real, honest, and deeply insightful, which is why it's a two-parter, because I just couldn't help but let them keep talking as long as they wanted. If you haven't heard part one, I recommend that you give it a listen. But without further ado, with help from the amazing Cheryl Texiera, Reese Rios, and Bob Clendenin, please laugh, listen, and learn with part two. Thanks for sticking around, guys. We stopped the first half right when we started talking about the role of ego in the acting business, which now leads me to the opposite. How important is humility to your career? Because as soon as you, air quotes, make it big, it's really easy for hubris to pop in. So how important is humility to keep grounded as an actor, grounded as a character, being able to get into character? It's really easy for an actor that I'm in a casting session. I'm like, this person thinks they're too important for this role. They're above this. This is a real step down for them. And I'm always like, well, I'm not going to listen to you then. Just please, why did you even show up if you're not into it? So opinions, please, on that.
Well, how important humility is to self or for your career?
Let's stick with career for now.
I've never ever felt that I was too important for something, and I don't ever.
Not even this
Just
podcast.
wanna shake you
Clearly, geez, I said yes so quickly.
I don't know. I think here's the thing. There's a lot of examples tied into the, hey, if you're right for the role and they want you, they will overlook a lot of warts. There are people that work that don't have much humility, and it doesn't seem to hinder their ability to work much. And I kind of look at them like, oh, should I be a little bit more, even though it's
boisterous,
not how I feel, maybe. And then I'm like, no, because in the end, I'm like, no, because I don't like the way they're talking to that person. And I don't think that feels, it doesn't. So it's a choice. I think I just sort of naturally gravitate towards, again, we're grateful with the gratitude, all that stuff. And so I was like, I think tethered to that should be humility. And I think that lends to a better collaborative thing, because I've seen people get jobs and I've heard directors or producers say, God, what a pain in the ass, but they're so good, or that's exactly what we needed. And I'm like, that's the biz, kid,
Yeah.
So how important is it? I think that's why I asked if it was self or industry, because I was like, the industry, I don't know if, without naming names, the ditches are littered with people that we see working all the time that don't have the best reputation.
Sure.
But I think there's also humility. Like, I don't want to sound like I'm being inconsistent. Like, I can say that I've never felt I was too good for or too important for a project. But I will say, if I don't see myself getting something out of it, I'm not going to do it. I don't think those are two. I don't think those are two contrary opinions. I
agree.
No, those are two different
humility
things.
has.
No, it's not being above. It's not about being above the work. But like I had an opportunity 2 weeks ago, and I rarely push back on my theatrical team as far as like, this is something that doesn't interest me. And because of a certain streaming platform and there was a weird ideology behind the whole thing. I was like, oh, I don't know if I've never, ever, I can't even think of a time where I was like, ooh, I'm going to pass because of these things. And I said in my messaging, I was like, and no shame, no shade to anybody that does this. I'm not above this. It's not me being better than or above this. It's that it's not for me. And I think so. Yeah. And that's okay. That's okay. I think there's strength in that. And it felt good. And pickings are slim these days. And I even said as much. I was like, so it's not easy for me to turn this away. But, and again, I'm not above it. It's not hubris. It doesn't fit for a multitude of reasons.
So I'm going to go ahead, Cheryl, please.
I'm like, I feel to second exactly what Bob said. These are two separate things. Having humility when you do reach a certain level of success is a choice, truly. And how you treat people is a choice. And there are people who, like Reese mentioned, are succeeding very well in this industry who are not necessarily the nicest, kindest people. But then there's also incredibly nice, kind people who do succeed and who get work for others and choose to surround themselves with kind, nice people. That is separate from getting a job opportunity that you feel like you might be too good for. I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, JR, what it sounds like was an actor said yes to you and then showed up and was like, ugh, why am I here? Like, that is almost like you want to get to a point where you catch yourself before showing up on set for a producer, because once you show up on set to a producer, you've chosen to be there. You're there, PT player.
Yeah.
But saying no to work because you're simply at a point where it's like, it doesn't align with my career. It's not. This is and saying no to your agent, Reese. You'd be. I've gotten a sneak peek into some top agents, and I'm like off camera. I'm like, I can get more specific if you're interested. And it blew my mind how often people say no to auditions.
Yeah.
I could not believe it, because again, to me, I was like, I said no when I was working. I started working, and then I was like, okay, I want to only do this level of role and above. And so they started sending me ones that were not above that. And I'm like, I'm sorry. No, that's a pass, because this is my goal now. And my goal is here now. So we don't go under. And if when you come at me, then it's like, okay, well, we are not in alignment. Maybe I need to look elsewhere and partner up with someone else. So I think that there's a balance.
I've been super.
I also think there's a I'm so sorry, Jared.
Please go ahead.
Something Bob said, there's something about the ego pre-audition and post-audition that it's not so much hubris as it is like when you're auditioning before you get the job, you're being directed to live in this world and see if you're a good fit, etc. So you follow suit, you take the direction, and if you get invited to set and are given that job, now there's a shift there where I feel like, oh, I was invited here because you gave me the job because I fit. So now that I fit this world, let me share my idea. As Bob was saying, I was like, oh, I don't necessarily agree with that. Could we try this? I was like, that does open up on the other side of the auditioning process. So I think there's like a different mentality.
There's a difference though. There's a difference because so I've directed spots where one was for a person, it was their show. Okay. So they're doing a promo for their own show and bitched and moaned and complained and locked themselves in the dressing room, and the air wasn't blowing hard enough and read M&Ms or whatever else. And I've remembered a piece of advice that my grandfather gave me my grandfather was brilliant. Okay. He was just a working class guy, but so brilliant. And he said, people behave the way they do because no one calls them out on it. Okay. So no one has ever said no to this guy before, right? He's got a group of sycophants that are all kind of gathered around him, his little team. And they're all like, boy, he needs a better air conditioner. I'm like, what am I going to do about that? So at some point I was like, look, man, aside from me coming over there and blowing on your neck while we're filming, there's nothing I can fucking do about it. So either sit down and participate or go home. I get paid the same either way. So if you want to do your promo for your show, play ball. If you don't, please leave. And we'll just call it a day. I get the same check at the end of the day. And that really threw him back on his heels to the point where he was like, okay, I get it. And from that point on, we were perfectly fine. But no one ever called him out on it before. And I've been really, I know I've said I don't believe in luck, but now that you guys have convinced me that luck is a thing, I've been really fortunate that most of the time, every project I've worked on, everyone's been super cool, super prepared, super professional, super fun, super willing to try new things, right? Everybody, and a lot of good back and forth. Maybe with the exception of 2 or 3 times that I've directed something, it's been that case that and I don't know every actor that comes in and auditions. So it's not like I'm just, hiring my friends. Sorry, Reese. It's not that I'm just hiring my friends. It is, people that I'm like, okay, this could be problematic, or you're even going into the day with a little stress saying like, she's great, but I'm worried that it's going to be a problem. And it turns out not to be. So I've been really lucky with that. But the times that I did hit those ego barriers and genuine hubris, I was like, okay, you are just a working actor like every other actor in this room with you. So there's a little bit of that. I think people get away with what they can until someone tells them no. That's my opinion.
Well, I also think that now, maybe this, again, being crusty and old, and I'm not remembering the way it was before, but especially now where we have so much instant fame because of social media, that a younger generation comes in with a sense of entitlement that it's all been earned, and it hasn't. And I think that this idea that I justify my stardom by acting like an asshole has been ingrained in a lot of. I've been on projects where there's been a newer generation, and I'm like, oh man, you are going to get hit hard one day, and maybe it's not. It won't be for 3 or 4 years, but it's going to smack you in the face.
I'm telling you, I used to have a kids show called Pancake Mountain. It was an absolute blast to do, and it was basically education based on music and imagination. We interviewed like every top band that you could possibly imagine. And the one thing that was 100% true was the older they were, the cooler they were.
Mm.
The young bucks coming out that just got their hit album were absolute pains in the ass the entire time, and they never wanted to participate. They were like, what am I doing here? They would say that audibly while you were doing the project with them. And, a little part of me, just like you just said, is like, man, are you going to get the door slammed in your face? Like, it's going to hurt when you fall down here, pal, because I think they think they're young. They got their shot, their record's a hit, and it's going to be that way for the rest of their lives. But the older artists have been through it all. They've seen it all, and they are perfectly willing to participate and have a good time, and they don't ask for anything ridiculous. It's great.
Guys, did you hear that? We're cool.
Yeah.
Cool guys.
Old guys are cool.
But I also want to give a shout out to the 20-somethings who are wise beyond their years, because I've been aligned with some of those too.
There's
and
a
I'm
few.
like, I wish I was as cool as you are today at 40. Do you know what I mean? Like there are some that are incredibly well. I lost JR, guys.
Oh, my
That's
webcam is like
He's so
shutting
cool.
off. Making sure I'm.
No, Cheryl's absolutely right. There are 2 distinct camps.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm only concerned because the bad camp seems much larger than the good camp.
Oh, I feel like I feel like I need to introduce you to some of the teenagers and the 20.
You probably are far more in touch, especially with your VO work. You are probably far more in touch with that than I am.
I am floored really truly to some people that I've met that have a humility and that have a drive, that have a groundedness to them, that I'm like, gosh, I wish I saw the world the way you do at 22, even 10 years ago.
No, I'm really heartened to hear that, and I take your word for it.
Yeah.
Can you guys still hear me, by the way?
Yes.
This is actually so much better being able to hear you.
I know.
Maybe I'll
I
leave
wish
it off
we'd
for a
done this
while.
from the beginning.
Listen to them, JR.
What I was going to say was a great example of that was Katy Perry. We had Katy Perry on right after the day after she changed her name from Katherine Hudson to Katy Perry. She had her first record out. She was on, and she was skyrocketing. And I mean skyrocketing. Everybody wanted her. And she was the nicest, sweetest, coolest person on the planet, and just couldn't be more fun. And what do you need me to do? Absolutely, whatever. And she's interacting with puppets, and I'm on the floor like between her knees trying to get a puppet up there, which wasn't a bad gig. But the whole
Right, exactly. Why did a puppet need to be?
No, but just don't say up there.
Special pet projects.
Very thrown away line of
Sorry,
puppet
I'm
up there.
daydreaming now about when that was. But she was as cool as could possibly be. I'm going to even say that it's more the sophomores, not so much the freshmen. The sophomores are the ones that are a bigger pain in the ass. And I've done that also in the film business, where it's like you had one role on this show, and now you come in and you've got your hair and makeup person for your audition. Like, okay, give it a rest. Like, I don't need your hair and makeup. I don't care if you got your hair up in a ponytail or whatever. Like, just do what you're being asked, and then we'll decide if you need your hair and makeup people. I mean, that's sort of where I go with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Cheryl. How you doing on time, kid? You all right?
So I would say maybe like 10 more minutes.
Okay, if you have to jump, that's totally fine.
Okay.
Let's talk a little bit about pigeonholing. Cheryl, you brought it up a little bit when you're talking about like VO work and stuff like that. They want you for a very specific thing. Bob, you brought that up a little, with the kind of characters that you play, the creepy next door neighbor, all that kind of stuff. And Reese, I'm going to bring back the something that we discussed before this interview, which is the Ralph Macchio disease, which you are a guy who can play 20 years your junior because of the, just the genes that you got makes you
all the work.
Right. And which I would necessarily think, but you also said you were either the dweeb or the serial killer, right?
Cock or serial killer, nothing in between.
Yeah, right. So it's let's talk a little bit about pigeonholing. And Cheryl, even for you, do you get a lot of like, oh, she's too short? I mean, you know what I mean?
Oh, sure. How tall do you
Oh my God, this has come up so many times.
In my mind, you're.
Can we get
I think in
stats
my
on you,
mind you're
Cheryl,
like
because
4'6". I mean, I think you might be just up to tit hem.
I'm 5'2", and arguably, if I do enough yoga, I'm 5'3".
5'2".
Power over Kristen
I have
Chenoweth.
pants that are taller than 5'2". If just so for the record.
I am a perfect size.
I would agree. My wife
5'2"
is
is not
5'2",
short.
Cheryl. 5'2" is, JR's getting weird kinks out of
Very
this.
odd. I don't know what you guys saw before we started recording.
Sorry, I'm thinking about Katy
really
Perry's
leaning
knees
into
now,
this.
and I can't really think about anything
Yeah, the
else.
Katy Perry puppet thing always set us up.
You got to get that puppet back.
Yeah, do I ever?
If it's still up there.
But Bob, I'm
6'2", by the way.
Right. And so here's the question. So you're on most lead actors are in between the 5'9" to 5'11" kind of thing.
Another reason I'm not going to be the main dish.
Is that holding you back? Is it just because of your reputation of playing those zany characters? I mean, is anything like that? I'm not going to say hold you back because that's a horrible statement to make. Have you lost out opportunities?
What's interesting is like when I was growing, long before I was ever an actor, people, you would hear this phrase about, well, you don't want to get stereotyped. And I'm like, after I've been in it, like, you absolutely do want to get stereotyped.
Why not?
If you want to keep doing it. Like, it's the best thing that can happen to you. Yeah. And I adore it. Like, for me, I'm in Seventh Heaven playing oddballs that like are just so off the wall that you can't, like, your range of choices is, across the board. You can do anything. You don't have a lot of heavy exposition. So for me, it's delightful, and I wouldn't change a thing. The only thing, and we haven't talked about much about like backgrounds in terms of like theater and stuff, but I think there's a very big distinction between stage actors and TV and film people in terms of this very thing. Where on stage you're really taught I can play anything.
Right.
I put on the suit. I'm going to adopt accents and limps and whatever, and then get into, and I can play Lear just as well as I can play the fool. But in TV and film, you really, I think, want to start honing in on not only what do I do well, but how do others perceive me. And the few times I've taught a class, like we would do this exercise where you go to the mall with a friend and have the friend go over to strangers and say, you see that guy over near the fountain? What do you think he does for a living? What do you think his education level is? What do you think? And you start culling that information and going, you know what? I'm perceived totally different than I thought I gave off. And that's something that's really valuable when you go into, what are my headshots going to be? How am I marketing myself? What wardrobe am I wearing at auditions and stuff like that?
Right.
To try and be as niche as possible to help all the gatekeepers, whether it's agencies or CDs, in terms of placing you in various projects.
Right. Well,
that's an excellent exercise. That's great.
It's really cool. I mean, it's great. I mean, you get a lot of surprises.
So we're going to talk about two things that came out of that are both on my list here. You're a great segue guy, Bob. Thanks so much.
I'm so good with the segue.
One is, I think a lot of people, let's do because Cheryl's got to bail. So let's do the other one first.
I'm sorry.
The idea of improv training and ad-libbing, and all three of you are excellent at it. Absolutely excellent at it. And for example, Reese, we did Chocolate Milk. We did Clown Cop, which is one of my favorite things I've ever done in my lifetime. I absolutely love it.
Clown Cop?
And
I love the Clown Cop.
Can we watch it anywhere?
Yeah, I'll send you the link. It's fantastic.
Please.
Reese did not deliver a single line in total that I wrote in the script. Not one.
In
Okay.
Clown Cop?
And I loved every single minute of it. Every minute of it, you did the Serpico thing. A clown Serpico cop was the fucking funniest thing on the planet. It was so great. In fact, I held onto your leather jacket forever, your Serpico leather jacket.
Right.
Cheryl,
Massive
Chocolate
lapel.
Milk. You played Rita in Chocolate Milk. I had to hold my mouth when you were doing Rita, when you're talking about the stencils from the art store. And
That's literally one of my favorite roles.
And then,
I
of
love
course,
chocolate.
Nate, our friend Nate, threw in the, when you said, tell him Rita sent you, and he said Rita with an R, I peed myself, like behind, it was the funniest freaking line in the world. But
Chocolate Milk is great.
I was constantly having to hold my humor in with Nate. Like, he was
he's
ridiculous.
so good. But Chocolate Milk is on Amazon. You can watch it on Amazon.
Are you serious?
Yeah. But
fun.
God,
a movie
so
that we
much
did for
fun.
like $6,000, I think, all said and done.
With
but-
Chad and Harvey.
Oh,
and
so good.
Nate.
So
good.
Bob and you and I haven't worked together, but I absolutely know that you have a theater background. In fact, we met through a mutual friend who you guys were both in the theater together. But
I did two improvised shows. Like Quick Draw was on Hulu, and that was a fully
Loved it.
improvised Western.
yeah, I love that. That was you played the Undertaker, right?
Yeah,
And that-
Shank, yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
But
It was great. It was great fun.
So-
and talk about coming full circle to your guy who said, "I'm just going to become an actor. How hard is it to stay and say the lines?" The improv's even easier because you don't even have to memorize anything.
Well, from my standpoint, the reason that I love it so much is because it's all for me. Any actors out there or aspiring actors out there, get your improv and ad lib skills. Go and watch the Groundlings and join one of those they have those little ad hoc improv groups that you can join. I don't want you to come in and spit a line back at me. For me, it's what can you add as an actor that I didn't think of, even if I wrote the damn thing.
Careful, JR.
well,
Aaron Sorkin would strongly disagree with you.
Well, I'm saying that if if I'm shooting a commercial and I've got a client and there's a product description that you're doing, that's a whole different thing. If I'm shooting a film or I'm shooting mostly comedy, I do mostly comedy, but if I'm shooting that stuff, I don't want you to come in and spit lines back at me. I want you to give me your take on what this is. Again, the Serpico clown. I never would have thought about putting that clown as like a Serpico character. And it was effing hilarious. I couldn't get enough of it. I watched that short probably twice a week because I love it so much. But I just the importance of improv. Just expound on that for me.
You'd say real smart. I've been hogging.
No, you have not.
I think, and I want Reese to just sort of see if he backs me up on this, that there is a double-edged sword with telling actors how improv is absolutely vital and it's important and good skills. What I think gets messed up in the machinery is people thinking that good improv is dominating the scene.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not. And I have won so many auditions just to pat myself on the head by being in an improvised scene and saying nothing and simply reacting to the stupidity of the person that will not shut up because they think they need to.
Right.
It becomes a pissing contest. Bob is absolutely
if you listen
correct.
and you react honestly, that's what wins the day.
I think what improvisation and it's so important because I think that what I learned was how to be the best goddamn listener in the room, and that's it. And Bob, there's so many examples from audition. There's one in particular I remember. There were 3 of us in the audition, and it was an improvised scene. And instant pissing contest. The guy on my right and the guy on my left just were like, "Can you top this?" And after about a microsecond, I was like, "I'm literally gonna stand here and do nothing because I'm not gonna get involved in that. Nothing's happening." Long story short, I got the job, and Bob, you said it also that like people think, improvisation is how to be clever.
No.
I think that's a terrible word.
No.
Yeah.
I think when people come in the room with an idea or something that's clever, then the reaction you're going to get when you do that thing is, "Oh, clever."
Right.
Well,
And that's it. That you could. But there's nothing improvised about that moment.
There's
100%.
There's the old adage that acting is reacting. It's an old kind of standby, but it is 100% correct that if you're waiting for your chance Whether this is improv or not, if you're waiting for your chance to just deliver your line, it does not work at all. If you're listening and reacting to something and you're actually understanding the context of the conversation, whenever you're right, Reese, whenever you're in those things where you say, okay, you guys just go at it, it's a shouting match. Like they're just waiting. Okay, no, me, no, me. I'll go next, and they sort of jump in on each other and it goes no place. But I would always be the guy who picks the person who's just standing there turning their head side to side. I'd be picking that person in a second because I'm like, that guy got it. Like he was just listening and reacting, and that's perfect.
Love it.
I do, with the I think improv is the most important. I personally think improv is the most important class to take because I do also feel, I feel like we could start a whole other topic because there's also the element of the classroom actor who is actually they're not in the ring, but they're doing a whole bunch of stuff in classroom. And that's where I see it far too much in LA, and I saw it very quickly in LA that I was like, I'm good. So when I've taught actors, the biggest thing that I tell them is just go do improv, get out of your head, because if you go into someone's classroom, you're going to adopt their philosophy way too fast, especially if they're vulnerable to that. So.
Love it.
Okay. Cheryl, I know you have to jump.
I gotta go.
Cheryl has to leave.
Go.
She's got actual real important things to do, unlike us three morons.
What?
So thank you so much, and I'll talk to you the next time we get together here.
Thank you. Adore you guys. I'll see you guys
Bye.
later.
See ya.
Bye, Cheryl.
So fun.
Okay.
Finally.
Look at Jesus.
Oh, man.
God, that was a drag.
Blah, 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 with her.
Can we get to the real stuff?
The other thing that I was going to talk about was this idea. You were talking about theater, stage stuff, right? There's a weird perception that outsiders view theater as like, let's say you've been doing shows, you've been doing commercials, whatever else, and then you're on Broadway. There's this weird perception from outsiders that basically says, oh, poor guy. He couldn't get work, so he went to Broadway.
Oh.
All right. I'm speaking of people outside the industry. All right. Okay. My experience, of course, and what the reality is people like to spread their wings. They like to do different things. There's an interesting project that they really can dig into. A lot of people like that night after night. I can tweak things a little bit and see how it reacts, how people react and so on. First of all, react to the thought of, oh, poor guy, he couldn't get a job and that's why he's on Broadway. And then we'll go from there.
I would push back strongly. I don't think that's the case at all. I've never heard, even 20 years ago, I think the idea of going to do a play, especially Broadway or off Broadway, is as really heralds like, oh, he wants to show his real chops.
Yeah. Like
he wants to get out of hey, he's just a TV actor. Yeah. What's interesting is I think 25 years ago, there was a real hierarchy that commercial or film actors didn't do TV actors didn't do commercials, and theater was just a separate animal. And now everybody's doing everything. Matthew McConaughey's doing voiceovers.
Cross-pollinating, yeah.
What's that?
It's just cross-pollinating now.
And the money is everywhere. And so there is no, I think, condescension among what discipline you're in. Like everybody's doing everything. I do think the transition though to doing a play, especially something that's really highly visible, in New York, it's going to separate the men from the boys. And we've seen a lot of people thought they could do it, some less trained actors going off and kind of getting really humbled by having to maintain character for an hour and a half or stay on book and not be fed there's a whole bunch of stuff that can really be humbling, I think, for the lesser trained people.
Yeah. Reese?
Yeah. I've never seen it that way as you described, where they can't get work, so they're on Broadway. I'm like, I started on stage and through college, and that was my training ground initially. Was a member of a local theater company, and I love being on stage. I had dreams of being on Broadway or off Broadway that have not come to fruition. And my thought, and when I see, sometimes people use TV as a vehicle or film as a vehicle to get to Broadway. I think it works that same way. I think it's, Bob said, separate entity, and we didn't cross-pollinate as much. But I've always seen it as a place I'd like to get. And if I can, if I can do just enough then maybe I can get there.
Yeah.
So
it is a very,
that's always been my point of view.
admittedly, it's a very inside the business, outside the business division, right? So you're taking it from, and again, I'm not using that as any kind of an insult on anybody because I don't agree with it. I'm just saying that outside the business,
the perception.
Yeah. And it also, that has to do with, Bob, you were saying it used to be there are very defined lines. If I use my mother as an example, my mother would be like, "Oh, did you see that so-and-so is on Broadway now?" And she always says it with this sadness in her voice. And I'm like, yeah, it's a pretty good gig. Like, what do you mean? Maybe he wanted to be on Broadway his whole life. But there's a definite feeling, and a lot of people think that way about TV commercials too. But look at all the people that are making a gazillion dollars for one, 30-second spot that they, that they're on. Yeah. It's just changed in the same way that people used to not sell their music to TV commercials, and now they can realize they can make, $30 million over 2 years by selling their music to somebody.
Well, and not sorry, Reese. Even taking the financial aspect out of it, the creative talent that is in, I think, even in the commercial world is astounding. Yeah. I did a spot. It was probably a couple of years ago for a European financial services thing. It wasn't even going to air in the U.S. And we're filming out in the Mojave Desert, and everybody's paying attention to the DP rather than the director. I'm like, who is that? So I go to my call sheet. It's Bob Richardson. I don't know if you know. I mean, Bob Richardson is how many Oscars has the guy won? He's like been, Snowfall. I mean, he's like 14 Oscar nominations, and he's doing this European commercial. They probably threw a bucket of money, but you see the spot, and every single still is frameable.
Yeah.
It's like,
there's a grand misconception of perception, and that is if you see Meryl Streep in a TV show, she must not be able to get a film or whatever. And it's just on the other side of it. To Bob's point, I mean, I got to work with Barry Levinson on a JCPenney commercial.
How about it?
Oh my God.
For 4 days we shot down in Dallas and this campaign, and I was like working with Barry Levinson on a JCPenney commercial. Yeah. I love it's just, this was like a dozen years ago. So it was, before we really started to cross-pollinate. I was like, I think that's been going on forever. And it's just,
and I would guess that Barry Levinson took that job or performed on set as seriously as he did in Raymond.
Absolutely.
It's like, it is still
maybe
not quite Raymond, but still quite close. But I mean, it's not.
But he took it seriously. He did not. Yeah, there was never a sense of like mailing it in, just like I'm just here for the paycheck. I was this weird character in this campaign, and never did I feel he was coming through as sort of like side-eyeing the whole thing.
I have had the experience though where I'm working with a relatively renowned DP, and the limitations of shooting a commercial budget-wise always like frustrates the crap out of them. Like even to stuff like, okay, we're going to shoot this anamorphic. I want to have 3 cranes, and the producer's like, no, you're not having any of that. Right. And you could just see them like, I can only do this with my cranes. So
I need my cranes.
It's crazy. All right, so. Go ahead, but did someone have more to add to that? Because I was going to move on.
No, I'm tapped out.
All right. So, and I wish I would have had Cheryl for this part, but I know she had to bug out. But
we'll answer on her behalf.
Let's talk now.
Do you think she really had something, or do you think this was a power move?
She claims she had a meeting with her agent.
Publicist?
Oh, that smells like a power move.
Because everyone here has publicists but me. So
when I have a meeting with my agent, it means I have to take a pee. Let's talk a little bit let's get into the impact of AI, the industry slowdown combined with that, and so forth. I've gone on record saying that aside from the impact to my friends and colleagues, all right, that's a big aside, but aside from that, I don't have a whole lot of problem with an AI commercial. I don't really care that much. Again, using my 78-year-old mother as I'm gonna change that. I'm just gonna say my mother in her 70s, because if she hears this, she'll flip her leg if I don't get it right. So, so using my mother who's in her 70s as a benchmark, she doesn't know it's AI, and she couldn't care less. She doesn't know anything about like continuity or consistency. She couldn't care less if a person had a collar in one scene and doesn't in the next. And I was watching TV the other night, and I saw commercials for Spectrum Internet. All right. They were all clearly AI. And the reason I could tell that is because the mouths didn't sync up right. There was no like kind of nuance in the facial expressions, whatever. And it was just also a stack of nonsense visuals that didn't have a story. It was just a bunch of pretty visuals. But in my back of my brain, I'm like, yeah, but what do I care? People have been pretending to be customers for years, right? Until we started putting a little disclaimer on the bottom, actual portrayal. So for years, hi, I'm Bob and I have a headache. But thankfully, no, you weren't really Bob with a headache. You were Bob, an actor who's playing this patient with a headache. So there's not really much of a difference for me. I'm not saying that it doesn't affect your work.
So our take?
I want to hear your take about how it's...
Except Bob with a headache is a person.
Well, listen.
Go on.
Listen, I'm asking... Stop it. I'm asking if you're feeling any of the impact of AI to an already slowed down industry, one. And two, what's being said behind the scenes in your communities of people about what's going to be done about it.
I mean, are we seeing an impact? I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
And the impact is the example used before. Hey, we know that's Bob the actor pretending to have a headache, but that's Bob the human actor making a living and earning a wage towards pension and health insurance.
Yeah.
Substituted by some binary code or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, that takes a licking. And as we use the phrase at the very beginning of this, a working actor or whatever, how do we define that? Well, it's pretty subjective, but I think it's somewhere in the world where if you're able to sustain a living as primarily an actor or only an actor, and you through that receive your health insurance and pension and everything that makes it feel like a career. And over the last 10 years, that's become exponentially more difficult to achieve. So whereas it maybe used to be 8% of actors can call themselves working actors, you're now less than 5%, et cetera. And so AI contributes to that because there's so many people one job away from hitting those milestones that allow them to continue to be a working actor. So does it have its place? Oh, sure, of course it does. But when we're just talking about, displacing actual humans pursuing their livelihood, they're sustaining a career. We're taking some lumps. Yeah, plain and simple.
Saying, Bob, you're feeling it?
How do we evolve from that? I don't know. That's an ongoing thing with our unions, et cetera. But
yeah, I wish. It would be actually really interesting to get Cheryl's perspective too, because I think voiceover is probably going to be the first field that almost entirely disappears, except for celebrity.
Nope, celebrities aren't safe either. Celebrities aren't safe either. I just talked to a guy who is an AI, basically an AI detective. He verifies content to make sure that it's not for legal reasons and stuff like that. And he's like, all it needs is 15 seconds of your voice, 15 seconds of your likeness, and you can be duplicated. That's it. And so it doesn't matter.
I'm old and crusty as we've established, but I detest the obsession that we have with AI right now, and everybody is running to see just how far we can push it as fast as we possibly can. And I just think the price we're going to ultimately pay is going to be huge. But also by the same token, we can't resist it. I hope that at some point, kind of rational thought sets in, and it starts being used as a tool instead of an obsession. It's being used now for reasons that it has no reason being, just simply because it can. And I think that's a shame. Like Reese said so well, it's the damage it's doing to working people, to the middle class, is going to be profound. And personally, I resent seeing it, but like you said, JR, I think will it sell fewer bars of soap? Probably not. No. It'll probably sell just as many, if not more, because and that's unfortunate, but I just wish we had a longer term strategy.
Yeah. So that brings
JR, you said something that rang true. It was like, your mom doesn't care, right? Your sainted mother in her 60s does not care.
She'll like that.
And I'm like, well, you know what? I think advertisers are starting to not care when they see that, if the consumer doesn't care, then why should we? About the production value, about having practical effects, about having great actors in there that are earning a wage. If they don't care because it's like we're still selling headache powder, then why should we?
The difference is it's product versus brand, right? I know that gets into a broader conversation. I don't want to get too deep into it, but it's product versus brand. So brands should really care, because there's going to be some snapback after a while. And this has been confirmed by a bunch of different sort of experts in the field. There are very few experts. Everyone calls themselves an AI expert. They're not. Right. But very few actual experts that know what they're talking about, and basically are saying, there's going to be a point where consumers go, I don't know, you're not really saying anything. You're just sort of showing a product. Even though I make fun of pharmaceutical ads all the time. That's all the same formula. It's some goofy song that they come up with, and it's, and they spend $1 zillion on those. They employ a lot of actors to do those spots. Mm-hmm. And, they actually are telling a little bit of a story there. I mean, there's something to it. So it's not just like, buy this aspirin, there's something to it. So you're the first actors, you're the first people inside the business that I've talked to about this topic on the podcast. The answer seems to be, or the prognostication is, that it's going to reach its limits where it can't do more things. The same guy that was talking, the AI detective guy I was talking about, he basically said, the worst part of this is that it's taking your hard work, sampling it, and using it for new content without your permission, essentially. So AI can't create its own stuff. It is taking samples of work that people have worked really hard to do and had years of training and have years of experience. And it's sampling that and just putting it into, an avatar character, right? Now, I have had my Bob avatar character forever. So, I'm not putting that down. Actually,
the pantsless one?
Actually, it's the blow-up doll. That's different than an avatar.
Oh, that's right.
Okay. Yep. But I have my own personal feelings about it, in that it impacts all of my friends. Every single one of my friends is in the business, and every single one of my friends is being impacted by it. I just don't know what's being done on, let's say, from the union side. Is there any discussions about restrictions?
It was a huge topic in our commercial contract and our theatrical contracts.
Yeah,
that was the biggest element, and especially affecting background people. What the producers wanted with regard to duplicating background actors in crowd scenes, and something the union really fought strongly for, and they won, fortunately. I've yet to see any example, though, of AI being used in dramatic content where I wasn't almost instantaneously bored.
Yeah, I've mentioned this a million times, and I'm going to keep shouting it from the rooftops. It takes actual intelligence to use it, first and foremost. Second of all, you cannot make compelling stories with it, or no one is. I'm not saying you can't. No one is. Everyone's treating AI as proof of concept. So it's a Viking walking down the middle of, Park Avenue that I'm like, what would this ever be used for? Or how could you use this? Yeah, it can do it, but you're not putting a story together. You're putting together a bunch of pretty visuals, putting a soundtrack underneath it, and then putting a logo at the end. It's not telling anything.
True.
Well,
we were talking about this last night at dinner, and Martin Scorsese, I think this week, talked about using AI for he's now going to use it exclusively for his storyboards.
Yeah.
And that actually, to me, I understand. I mean, that's a tool. Storyboards were never hugely creative. It was just a way of documenting what we're going to be shooting from moment to moment.
Right.
I think where it gets dangerous or not or less useful is when we then make the jump to, we can actually make the content with AI.
Yeah.
And that's where we're going to really miss the human element.
I wish I had an answer about when that was going to occur. I really do. But I think I agree with that my former guest who said, I think it's going to hit limits. It's going to be a point where you can't make it any more human than you have. And I think people are going to start with, I'm going to say cinematically. I'm not even going to say with TV commercials. I'm going to say TV, you obviously can't have an AI created sitcom. Mm-hmm. You can't have an AI created dramatic movie that has character, unless you want to do something that doesn't have any human characters in it. You can't really do it. And it's not because the characters don't look good or they don't have 6 fingers anymore and they don't have, a third eye anymore. That's all been fixed. But it's all about that subtle expression. It's all about subtle delivery of line and what your face does when you do it and what your eyes do when you do it. And they can't replicate that, at least not yet. The opinion of this guy was, I don't think they're going to be able to. And I kind of believed him. I don't know that maybe it's just wishful thinking. I don't know.
I think I remember during the negotiations with it 3 years ago, and during our picket lines, et cetera, one of the things you would hear consistently was, it can't do that. It can't quite do that. It can't do that. It's not there. It's not there. And my mind would always add the word yet.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and where we sit today, it's not there, but I still keep going yet, because all I know is I remember Will Smith eating spaghetti looked like this.
That's what everyone's
now
seen.
Will Smith, and now it looks like this. I'm like, that's a pretty exponential leap, I'd say. And so I think the mistake we could make is just assuming that there's a plateau. And I don't know. I think it would be an incredible feat to be able to, really have AI emulate a real nuanced sort of thing, and those little isms that are so special and unique. I think that would be quite the feat. And I think I'd be making a mistake assuming that it can't get there eventually. I don't know if it's a year or 3. It just seems like the growth is exponential. So I think it's something we have to continue to discuss and consider people are trying to replace
Well, they're not
jobs, etc.
Most of the people that are trying are not storytellers, though. You know what I'm saying? They're artists that want to get in the door.
But do people care? I mean, like, do consumers? The verticals are a big thing now, and I'm like, what is a vertical? So I go watch a vertical. I'm like, this is what people watch now. I talked to someone who said I watched the entirety of Breaking Bad. I was like, oh, what'd you think? I was like, oh, I watched it in 3 days on the TikTok. And now I'm an old person because I said the TikTok.
Right.
But I was like, what do you mean? I was like, well, they have a whole condensed version. I was like, but that's not watching the show. And I was like,
no, that's watching the Cliffs Notes.
So if people don't care, then what we also have to calibrate is like, well, if this is what AI is doing and people's giving a shit is doing this, at some point, what if they intersect and then they don't need that level of
I get you. And we're
artistry.
I get you. We're a little bit off.
we can enter the discussion about as creators, are we playing to the lowest common denominator?
Yes.
Or are we going to aim a little higher?
Yes. We are. The answer is yes.
Both Hacks, the show's Hacks and The Comeback, I think took pretty good swings at. Now they were talking about AI as writers, as creators, rather than as performers being used. But I think both of them handled it in a sort of, or brought up some really interesting conversations. But yeah, I mean, I agree with Reese. Yet is a huge word. I'm just going to. I think we all have like teenage 20-something kids that we're seeing from them a reaction, a response that is not particularly positive. You watch these, speakers, valedictorian speakers getting booed when they mention AI. Yeah. You see people sort of moving away from this and back to a sort of a more simple.
There's backlash.
Which is, to me, it's heartening. And I come back to what I said earlier. I just wish we were showing more caution and less of I have to get there as fast as possible mentality.
I agree. And, just to your point, though, the same people that are starting to give that pushback are the people that my children are both in their 20s. I have never seen them sit down since they were babies in front of a television to watch anything. And they almost never go to a movie theater. Mm-hmm. It's all on their phone or on their laptop. They never watch anything on a big screen. I don't know who the director that just said was like, movies are meant to be seen on a big screen with a community of people. That's how movies are meant to be seen. Yeah. And, TV shows are different, but, I can't imagine watching a show like, what's the show on Apple that everybody's going gaga for, that weird Lost-like show on Apple? The one that's all in the office space and they sit in that little cubicle.
Oh, Backrooms.
No.
Oh,
Jesus, I thought you guys.
Severance.
Oh, Severance. Thank you. For God's sake, I would have lost sleep. But watching Severance on a small screen is not the same experience as even watching it just on a regular TV, right? So but
watch Oppenheimer on your phone.
In vertical.
Right.
Yeah, in vertical.
Right. Well,
but if they're conditioned, then they don't know it. Then who gives a shit? You know what I mean? Like,
that's
that
true.
Generation is absolutely conditioned. Whereas we grew up on reruns of Three's Company, etc.
You're damn straight we did.
We had to be on way 4 or we missed it.
And what's happening?
Yeah. And so their conditioning is quite different. And so there's not an element of missing out. We're living in I think we have good old day syndrome.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I think you're right.
But how do you reintroduce that to this younger generation and go, no, you don't understand. You sit in front of the television for 30 minutes, you endure 8.5 minutes worth of advertisements. And it's very, very, it's wonderful. Those commercial break serves as piss breaks.
Again, to hold the bunny ears.
Again, my grandfather lost his mind when TV Guide Channel came around. Like when TV Guide Channel that listed what was on other networks, all day long.
Because he loved his TV Guide and he didn't want to give it up, or because he
was like, this is the greatest technology I've ever seen in my life. He would watch TV Guide Channel, just the scrolling listings, for like a half hour because all of our childhood was all about like, if you missed it, you missed it. That was it. Like if you're not there at 5:00 when it came on, you weren't going to see it. That was the end of it. And he was all like, oh my God, look, it can tell me what shows are on any channel. He was so excited about it. So I can't imagine.
Well, I remember my grandfather literally would receive the TV guide in the mail.
Sure.
And then go through it in advance and highlight
the
programs that were going to be watched that week.
Our conversation has gotten off track in a beautiful way, and everybody's been really honest and wonderful. And I think it's all, you can read some really great advice into all of the stuff we talked about. But let's zero back in onto what the main topic is how hard is it to be an actor? Let's talk a little bit about, let's get to the financial part. Not specifically how much are you making. It is what your out-of-pocket stuff is, right? Whether you're union, whether you're not union, whether you have insurance or don't, whether you have agents, managers. Like, give me sort of the lowdown to anybody, the dumbed-down version of the kind of stuff that you have to out-of-pocket to be, I'm not going to say successful actor, but a working actor.
Right. The absolutes, if you will.
Yeah.
I mean, they say you should always be in class. So if you believe that, then you should always spend $300 and $400 a month. I haven't taken an ongoing class in over a decade. I mean, when I went through Sunday Company and finished that, I was like, it's not that I don't need it. It's not that I'm above it. I'm good, you know, and other costs. Well, there's headshots, you get those every 2 to 3 years at a $400 to $500 a pop, depending on what you do. That there's all sorts of subscription-based sites and things like that, none of which, casting networks, for example. I have never not used the free version. Right. I just Casting Frontier, same. So I don't have any subscription costs to any of those casting sites that I think a lot of actors do pay into that thinking, oh, I should. And I'm like, I've never needed it. Costs of having an agent, and then should I have a manager? Well, they take their 10% slice, right? Mm-hmm. So your agent will take 10%. And if you have a manager, they'll take their 10% cut. And a lot of managers will take 10% of both theatrical and commercial money. That's a negotiable piece, I feel. But that's, of course, 10% of money you earn. So you're not paying them. There's no retainer. There's the old thing that never accept representation as a paid monthly thing.
Yeah.
You don't. So yes, you got to go through your training. So whether that means you go through conservatory, you do ongoing, you take ongoing classes that can cost a bit.
Okay, so let me put it in this perspective. You're not working yet as an actor. You're clearly working another job or doing something like that to stay alive. And you've got to go to casting calls when they happen. So you are basically always dancing a tightrope at your job of I gotta go, like in the next half hour, or I need tomorrow off, or whatever it is. And then there's also the simple stuff, you're union, but think about like health insurance and stuff like that people don't have access to because they're not working and they're not union. You got to be put a certain amount of hours in as an actor before you become union, which I don't think a lot of people know. I think they think you just come out and you're in the actors union, and nope, that's not the way it works. So
you have to get you're right. So you have to if you haven't joined the union, then health insurance through them is not an option. And even if you do join the union, you have to hit a certain financial milestone every year to qualify for insurance, to pay for insurance that is very good. And especially if you're including dependents, it's actually great insurance. So let's go before you ever get invited to the union, because you have to book a union job, etc. Or you can get vouchers by doing SAG background work. The costs there, what is insurance costs outside? $1,100 a month or something like that.
Along those lines, yeah.
What is that? California Cal, whatever, that program?
Yeah.
So your insurance is going to be very high. Odds are you have more than one job to sustain your way. You're right. Those jobs have to offer a modicum of flexibility and so that you can duck out at a moment's notice to make an opportunity. So the hustle to get to a certain point is considerable, right? And the costs, I think, are considerable. And at that point, you are definitely in an ongoing class, because it's not just about owning your craft. it's also about immersing yourself in a community and starting to build that network and make connections and learn how things work around
Right.
this town. And someone has this experience and someone has that experience, and you take the amalgam of that and you start to wrap your head around what this journey is going to be like. So that's why you have to be in those classes, especially when you're starting out. So there's $400 a month. So those 2 jobs, maybe 3, one of them which has you working till 2-3 a.m. slinging drinks, you're paying a chunk out of that just to be in the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's only, you're paying dues essentially before you're paying SAG dues.
Yeah.
So it's considerable, because odds are you're coming into this town without.
I think the 3 of us were smart enough to marry women who worked at jobs that had health insurance. So at least I was. So
yeah.
I think for most in the business, most actors, most directors, DPs, whatever, the union route is definitely what you want to strive for. I mean, aside from the protections on how you're compensated and stuff like that, Bob can certainly speak more expertly to that. Bob, were you the president of the union for a while?
No. But I was on the board. I was a trustee,
okay.
Or not trustee, but a delegate, they call
so
them.
you can speak more expertly on that.
And I was sort of active. It got very, there's a lot of infighting, and I saw how the sausage was made, and I wasn't crazy about it. And I sort of stepped away a little bit,
okay.
but I'm so grateful for the union and what it's, we've again, sorry to annoy you with this phrase, but I think I've been really lucky that we've made, made insurance, that's not been an issue. Well, the one thing I was going to mention is, like, if you are starting out, you're essentially deciding that you're going to be a professional job interviewer. That's all we're doing is trying. If things are going well, you're getting rejected 5 times a week.
Yeah.
That's when things are going well. When things are going poorly, you have no job interviews for 3 months.
Yeah.
So if the idea that you just will start acting, and I saw a post on social media, somebody was saying, hey, how do I get acting jobs? I'm willing if I'm okay if it's only a line or 2. I'm like,
yeah.
you out of your mind?
Guess what? You're not okay if there's just a line.
I mean, even background work, is competitive. That's, it's like a, so the idea that you just sort of step into this, and like Reese was talking about, not only do you need to have these survival jobs, they need to be such that you can really focus almost all of your energies on this desired profession.
Yeah.
You can't have a job that requires you to be taking it home with you. You can't have anything, so you're probably going to be saying goodbye to any job that offers any kind of benefits. And so that's going to be out of pocket. I think things have gotten better and more affordable as time has gone by. And in the old days, you had all those processing costs remember Reese going to ISGO for your headshot sheets. And then, oh shit, I can't afford to get 3. I'll get these 2 duplicated, and I'll go to reproduction.
Well, legwork has gone away, and that's
your pager service that we don't need to have, etc.
Pager service.
I hate to be like the old man, but like, so those
then
things.
I get stuff over the teletype machine would come over, and I'd have to read the ticker tape.
Now, and I think Reese and I are in the position where we're not handling those introductory costs, like the paid actors access or pay, like you mentioned, casting networks. A lot of those are really their bread and butter. Too much.
What are those 2 things that you just mentioned?
It was 2 inside.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's different services that provide non-union jobs. You can go online and say, okay, what student films are looking for roles? What small independents might have something that I can self-submit for, because I don't have an agent yet, because I have no body of work to show them, so nobody's going to represent me. So I'm all doing this through legwork. And those services, more often than not, are paid services. So you're paying $100 or whatever, $30 a month for this one, and and then you have IMDb Pro. You need that because you need to do your research, and that's $150 a year, whatever. So all these things, I think, are geared towards the new actor who's just starting out, and all the sloppy old veterans like us can just do the free version, or have our agent let us know when we have an appointment.
When you're luxuriating in your pool and having your agent do it, is that what you're saying? Just laying back with a drink?
I should show you my pool. I wish I could show you because I just filled it up. It's a little Walmart 4-footer that
Plastic
my pug
cool.
sits
I
in.
like it.
So there's some costs that have gone down, some that have gone up. Like Reese said, classes are great. They can get expensive. There are these, I think they've sort of tapered out the CD workshops. I don't know if those are still
Yeah,
around.
that dynamic has changed considerably, but
That
I mean,
was a
they
big
still
expense.
exist.
That was 50, 80, $100 a night just to be seen. Oops.
What is
There's
this?
a thing
He
casting
doesn't
directors used to.
understand. Explain as you would a child.
Talk about these workshop. What's going on?
So casting directors used to really have a good alternate source of income by going to these houses where they would watch unsigned new green actors, and actors would pay pretty heftily, $50, $60,
Depends on
$70
who,
for to be able to read a scene in front of a sort of a casting director.
What a scam.
And maybe get some feedback, maybe
Well-
not. In the old days, you would do a play and you'd invite a bunch of casting people, and a third of them would show up, and maybe you were really good, and then they'd say, "Hey, come in for this role on MacGyver next week."
Yeah.
That disappeared because there was a lot of bad theater. Casting directors were getting nothing out of it, or less out of it than they wanted. Then they realized, oh, this can be a moneymaker. So these houses popped up all over town where they would say, okay, we have so and so from Junie Lowry Johnson's office who's coming in, and she's going to look at new actors. We'll give you a scene you can read. She'll give you some feedback, a redirect, and that'll be $75. SAG and a bunch of people said we shouldn't have to pay to audition.
Yeah.
And so it became a huge fight. I'm talking Reese, what, 10, 15 years ago?
It was 15 years ago or so, and then shit hit the fan with that whole thing.
So they eventually shut them down. There were
It
lawsuits filed.
or a wire to one, because the whole it walked this very delicate tightrope of like, this is not a promise of an audition. This is so you can get feedback from a casting director and a working casting director. But here's the thing:
we're teaching. It's not a job interview. We're teaching.
Yeah, and they actually had to read this sort of this legalese prior to every workshop, so everyone understand that there's like, you pay the money to work out with this casting director and get invaluable feedback. But here's the thing. No one, I'm not saying no one went there for that reason. People went there for that reason. And the casting director is going to see me. And if I do a good job, I can get on the radar. If I get on the radar, they'll call me in.
I wish I would have thought of that.
Here's the thing. Because there were plenty of casting directors, and yes, casting directors, it was supplemental income for them that would show up, and some had a reputation for this. And those that did have your reputation for this would draw a bigger audience. And that reputation was, hey, look, because hey, if you do come in here, yes, I'm going to give you feedback. But if you knock my socks off, I'll find you and I'll bring you in. That was not the promise. We can disclaim that up front. And my position on that was the casting director is always trying to find new talent. They want to find new people. So it could be couched as a win-win. Right? A casting director sees you, likes you, gives you the feedback to which you're entitled. That's why you took it. But they'll go home with the knowledge of you as a person, that you exist, and could bring you in, and you could get it. And that happened plenty of times.
I see that.
So the problem where it got really gnarly is that when it got a little, some people would get a little bit careless and reckless with it. And the person that wore a wire because he went to, I guess, the Department of Justice, whatever, and said, "Oh man, these workshops are scams, man. We're no one's bringing us in to audition." And all they had to do was live by that code of like, well, this isn't not the purpose. But there was casting directors that got kind of, I guess, said things you're not supposed to say. And this actor played it back, and they got shut. That was the big shutdown, right?
Okay.
And it was really unfortunate because there's so few things an actor can do proactively. Yeah. And then that's I loved being in the Groundlings world, and that's part of it was like, well, there's some good eyes in that audience. You never know, but there's not much you can do outside of that. So when that got shut down, and you could read this person's comment, the interview asked him, "Aren't you worried about being blacklisted?" And shutting this whole thing down. And this actor's response was, "What do I care? They're not calling me in anyway."
I'm already
right.
And I'm like, well, but see, what's interesting about that comment is, well, But see, you did go in there thinking that this was a promise of an audition.
It makes me think of, I was a musician through high school and into college, and I was in a little band, and we used to do these music showcases where you would invite people to come, just like you're saying, like you used to invite people to the theater to see you perform, but you had to buy all the tickets. So you paid the tickets and were responsible, whoever guests were showing up would pay you back for the tickets, right? So if none of your friends showed up or no one came,
You're on the hook.
You were stuck with the hook. Plus you had to buy your own like food and drinks, and you waited in line behind like however many other bands, like they would perform for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and then you'd rush your stuff up there. And so you'd be there for like 7 hours and nothing would come of it.
Well,
It
it's
was
like being
ridiculous.
a stand-up, the whole stand-up community in New York, who you have to just be out there pounding on the corner, handing out your flyers to because you're responsible for bringing 30 people into the house.
Yeah.
If you
right.
want to
You
spot
only get
on
paid if you get 30
you want your
plus
5
people.
minutes, yeah.
Yep.
I was pretty opposed, to be honest, to the casting director workshop model. I think in theory it wasn't a terrible idea. What happened ultimately was, though, it wasn't Francine Maisler that was coming to give you Francine Maisler feedback. It was some girl who'd been in the office as an associate for 6 months, whose only job is opening envelopes, and because she's paid like shit, she could make, a couple $100 by being from so-and-so's office, a rep of, and she had no pull,
Gotcha.
and she also had no real teaching ability either. So it was just, I think it was a way of kind of, it became a way of fleecing already impoverished actors of more money in the hope of just getting some eyeballs on them, and it was abused, and I think ultimately deserved to be shut down. But in theory, and then I think, if I remember correctly, SAG tried a couple times to do essentially the same service, but for free for SAG actors. They would bring casting people in for workshops, and you could sign up for these things. And I don't know whatever happened with those. I think it was probably harder because they weren't able to compensate the casting people for, donating their time as richly as they could when they were charging actors.
Yeah, as an idea, as a forum for feedback and to sort of calibrate where you stand, I think it was useful. And when you did get the actual casting directors sometimes they, theirs would sell out more quickly. Like if a Jeff Greenberg was right?
Right.
The line was up.
He was the casting director of Frasier.
Happened.
Jeff Greenberg, he was a very huge in the 90s.
So Bob said sometimes you get an associate, but if you're going in and showcasing for an associate under the idea that maybe this could lead to an audition, you might be a little misled. And by the way, their job is to not mislead you, thus the disclaimer. Okay. Whereas if you get like Jeff Greenberg of Jeff Greenberg Casting, the man himself, it's a very different dynamic, right? You're sitting opposite him, and this man absolutely could reach out, pick up the phone, and say, "Hey, so-and-so agency, I'd like to see so-and-so," and that did happen. I won't say to what frequency, but it did and could happen. But like there were so many variables from one to the next, so it's a shame, because under certain it could be a useful thing, but without it, you're left like, well, what else can I do to be seen?
Right.
Maybe someone will come and see my play where I have AIDS.
Well, that just came out of no place.
I don't know. It's a drama.
I'm going to give you this. Just brought the whole thing down. So
is that a good note to end on? Do you want to just call it now?
Well, we're gonna. This is the perfect. This is the perfect place. Right, we're gonna end on AIDS. The AIDS. If you're old people like us.
Was the AIDS play on the TikTok?
The AIDS on the TikTok.
Do TikTokers know about AIDS?
So let's wrap this up. Let's start to land this plane. Basically,
I think it crashed already.
Oh, you're not kidding. But listen, this turned into something that I didn't expect it to. I thought it was going to be just like, okay, here's the rules of becoming an actor. I very much have enjoyed that this is definitely going to be broken into 2 episodes, because this is, first of all, it's 2.5 hours we've been yammering.
Jeez.
but second of all, it is, I think it's become a little bit more of an open discussion and an honest discussion without anybody really performing, except for the buffoon that I am, being the king's fool. And it's really been eye-opening, and I think it'd be eye-opening to a lot of people. But let's start bringing this plane in. Based on what we were just talking about, essentially, with this in mind, this stat in mind, there's 160,000 plus or minus people represented by the Screen Actors Guild. That's what SAG is, by the way, for anybody out there, Screen Actors Guild. So SAG-AFTRA, basically the AFTRA is for people that are broadcast, like radio and that kind of thing, and SAG is screen actors, okay? I'm talking like there's someone sitting over here. You guys get that?
It's like, who is over there?
Yeah.
Someone over there?
But I'm talking to my audience. But 160,000 plus or minus represented. 89,000 are considered working actors. So just over half are considered working actors. And that definition of working actor is everything from background actor to primary talent.
Yeah. Anyone that made a dime.
Right. So anybody who's made a nickel on it, that's a working actor. So with that in mind, let's wrap this out with sort of the I want to be an actor advice from you guys.
But there's you're not hitting the really bad statistic stuff, which is that 89,000 may be calling themselves working actors. I think it's, what are we at, about 6% of the guild are actually making enough to make insurance. So are making more than 30,000 a year. So
it used to be like 12% forever.
And that was like 5%. So a 20th of the guild, of people in the guild. And you said there are about 160,000 members in the guild. How many people are in Los Angeles alone who are aspiring to be in the guild? I think it's probably 2 to 3 times that. So we may have 500,000 people who are calling or would want to ultimately be actors, and maybe 15, 20,000 of them are making enough to pay their rent and
to make insurance,
buy a movie ticket.
If that's the bar, if the bar is making insurance, just know that number to make the bar is not a living wage.
It's not even close.
Okay.
And it's still that hard where only 5% hit that bar, and that bar is not enough to survive. Not even close.
Wow.
It's grim. It's really grim.
With that in mind,
what is the number to make the insurance? 25,000?
I think it's the 25 to 30. It's in that range.
It's like 25 and change, 26.
Well, it's one of the reasons I left
that to get insurance, and I was like, oh, that's nothing. And I was like, well, 5%.
It's one of the reasons I left the Directors Guild. I mean, one of the reasons I left the DGA is because I wasn't getting enough for half the year I was there. I was like, I'm not going to make it. There's a certain number you got to hit to stay in the DGA, and I was like, I'm not going to make it. Like, not going to do it.
But with that attitude,
with all that in mind, asshole. With all that in mind, someone comes up to you and goes, "Hey, I want to be an actor." So what do you say to them? What's your advice to them, or your cautionary tale? I'm not going to lean you one way or the other, but I know Reese is a very positive person. Bobby, you're a very positive person. But what do you tell someone who says, I'm ready to be an actor
My
now?
niece said this, wonderful young lady said this to me 2 weeks ago when I went and visited home, and she's, in school plays and all that stuff. And I sat down and I was like, I'm going to talk to you like an adult now, and she's 11. But I was like, okay. So first thing that tumbled out of my dumb little mouth was, okay, it's going to be really hard. It's going to be really hard.
Yeah.
So let's make sure you love it. Let's make sure you really, really,
good advice.
Really
good advice.
And there was, what else can I say beyond that to an 11-year-old who's already thinking big? And I really believe her when she says she's going to go for it. My sister's like, yeah, she's really good. And of course, there's no reason not to. I was like, you absolutely have to indulge that. So let's tell you how hard it is. And then hopefully you're so crazy about the idea that you say, I don't give a shit, I'm still going to do it. I was like, okay, great. That's a great start.
Yeah. That means you've got the gumption. Start. Yeah.
Let's get past that first membrane of negativity and say, fuck it, I'm going to go for it anyway. It's like, yeah, because you should.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it's really, really hard. And then I'm going to say you should.
Okay.
Because you will know, because if you come to a point where you stop, then that's the point that you recognize that you don't love it that much.
Yeah.
Let's see how much you love it. And I think that will prove out over how long you're willing to pursue this. And maybe it'll find you at a younger age than most. Maybe it won't find you till you're 30 or 40 if you're still loving it enough to be around it.
Love it.
But it's hard. Do you love it? Great. Go until you can't. I don't know what else to say.
Bob, what do you think?
I would say, okay, so it's, again, I think there's some language differences. To say I want to be an actor. It's like saying, hey, I want to do carpentry. Okay, go get a board and a saw and you do carpentry. Like you can act. You can act. There's nothing stopping you from acting. There's nothing stopping you from going to Sam French, getting a text, working on a scene, and acting. Right. What you're really saying though is, I want to get paid as an actor, and that's an entirely different conversation.
That's right.
And I can tell you, hey, all right, find a headshot photographer if you want some help. I will help you with some marketing tips, what I think might be representing you best. I can give you some ideas about maybe doing some self-producing some content if you want to put it out there and start getting feedback and start seeing like what people think of you as an actor. But being a professional and actually getting paid is an entirely different conversation from just saying, I want to be an actor.
I think that's a good qualification. And I think then, once you clarify that you want to be a working actor, then it's like, okay, let's break this down into bite-sized chunks. Because one of the things I'll tell people that are younger or just getting started, I was like, great, here's the great news. You can do anything right now. You can do as many student films as you want. There are so many wonderful, and you're going to find your people. You're going to build a community, build a network. You're going to get to know someone who's trying to figure out how to be the best gaffer in the world, etc. And you're going to grow with them. And so yeah. Oh, you want to be an actor? Cool. As Bob said, you want to be a working actor. You want to make this a career. Okay, go and do everything you can and learn what it's like to be on stage, because it's more than just being the best actor. It's learning what it's like to be around people trying to all accomplish the same thing with different professions.
What's the line from that movie? I can't remember the movie where it's like, if you wake up in the morning and all you think about is writing, you're a writer. Oh. It might have been even like a dopey rom-com, but it was a great line that I was like, you can be an actor. It's a matter of being a paid actor, and there's a difference, but there's nothing holding you back now. Everybody has a camera in their pocket. Right. Everyone's got access to, lights are cheap. It's not like you've got to put a $10,000 investment into anything. You just can make a movie about anything.
I think it's fun I always encourage people. I think you should ask people about their journey, and you will probably never find two stories alike. The same. Yeah. And I think that's encouraging, because I was like, your road, it's so thrilling not knowing where the road's going to take you, right? Because, let's see where Hollywood wants to slot you, or maybe not Hollywood necessarily, but you know what I mean? I was like,
nobody discovers sort of what an incredible surgeon they were. That doesn't happen, but there are cases where we find people who had no training or no skill, and they are unbelievably compelling on film. They are riveting. And so it is an option that's available to almost anybody, but you're not going to know until you start taking those chances or putting yourself out there and seeing what feedback you get. And
that kid that played the banjo in Deliverance was not an actor, and it's the first face you think of when you think of that scene. It's like that worse, kid. Yeah, it just creeped the shit out of me. That is a great place to end. That is good advice, and I wish Cheryl could have stuck around for the whole thing. I know she had stuff to do.
Unreliable.
Yeah, I don't really trust her anymore now.
I mean, now that
plus I can't. Plus, when I look for her, I have to look down. It's really hard. She's so little.
How short is she?
She's little. I think now I'm revising. No, I'm revising it to 3'9". I think she's 3'9". She's 5'2" with heels. Anyway, guys, amazing stuff. This really turned into something different than I thought it would be in a great way. I'm so thrilled that you were on. What?
Nothing.
Sure, you gotta have a smart remark. This is what I'm talking about, the improv. Now you're just trying to jump in with something.
I gotta light my candle again.
God damn. Let's do some outros here. She isn't here, so I'm going to have to give Cheryl's outro without her. You can follow this incredible talent at CherylTexiera.com. That's spelled Texiera, but pronounced Texiera. On Instagram at Cheryl.Texiera. And definitely follow her TikTok channel at Anxious Actor, where she bears her soul and makes me snort laugh, chronicling her journey through Hollywood. Really good stuff. Bob, let's go you here. We're going to say Bob can be seen later this year reprising his role of KJ Claspers in season 2 of Bad Monkey. That's cool. I like that. On Apple TV. You can find his reels at robertclendenin.com. Take a look. On occasion, he posts on at Bob Clendenin on Instagram, and he's also got a Threads at Bob Clendenin. You can see him there. And if you're looking for delicate feminine wrists and hands too moist to be an X-Man, Reese Rios will appear in the new FX show The Drop. When is that? That's coming soon, right?
I have no idea.
Oh.
It's a spinoff of Snowfall.
Oh, okay.
And it's set in the 90s. Yeah, it's.
Are you an agent?
What's that?
Are you an agent?
A record producer.
Great.
Oh. A
Is it
greasy one
period?
that takes...
A 90s.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So beyond the
I don't know when
PLA
that's coming
era.
out. Other than that, I just goof around on Instagram and wait to work
Yeah, I was going to
again.
say after that, he will appear lost and disheveled, wandering aimlessly through the streets with a wistful yet concerned look in his eye.
Same gas.
Guys, you are amazing. Thanks so much. And I hope to have you on again when we have something
Great
else
time.
to yap about.
Bless you.
This was a blast. Thank you so much for inviting us.
Thank you. Could I wanted to touch on one thing real quick. Forgive me. The Stan's granola.
Oh, no. How did you even hear about this?
Well, no. Look. I support small business as much as I can.
Okay, first of all,
but-
he's not here today. I don't know where he is. He left me in the lurch. He's probably home making a batch of this crap. Second, you can't really call it a business, but go ahead.
Well, maybe that's part of the problem because I went to the website and it's like, oh, let me, help them out. Like, what is that stuff? Like that, is that actually legal?
I'm going to answer that in one. I'm going to answer that one thing. It's dangerous and inedible. That's all I'm saying.
I think I kept reading the word like cave, and I'm like, it's not. They don't. When they say cave, they don't mean like cave, like where you hide.
Well,
bodies.
what he calls a cave is probably about the size of a dinner plate, first and foremost. That's why his never in stock. His batches are tiny.
I have a follow-up question. I tried to ship to my mother-in-law, and she's in Idaho. There seems to be like 7 states that you can't ship to for federal I don't understand why.
Bob,
this is
first of all, there's CBD oil, which I don't have a problem with that he's got CBD oil in
fine,
it. But he
but
puts so much, it's like the dogs smell the boxes.
But
You know what I'm saying?
But granola inherently has a crunch to it, right?
Not his.
This stuff doesn't sound super
No,
crunchy.
it's like bubblegum. It's bubblegum granola.
Do you understand why that's a little unappetizing when I'm going for a granola sort of texture? I've grown up my entire life with the idea that granola hits the mouth a certain way. There's going to be jagged edges. There's going to be a satisfying crunch.
You're preaching to the choir, man. I know.
When I go to the website, I'm like, this looks uningestible.
First of all, nothing should sit in a cave for 13
so
months.
it is a cave. See, that's what I was like. He means
But I'm saying
cave. He
it's
means some sort of smoky shed.
Cave.
He calls his kitchen the cave, but it's a cave.
It could be a hole in his bathroom wall. All I'm saying is that he ages it, quote unquote.
Not great marketing.
Oh, I'm only asking because I've already got this stuff on order. If with the CBD content, can it be used as an ointment, or it
can be used as a fuel. It can be used as a fuel. You can burn it in your fireplace. That's how much oil is in it.
Here's the thing. One of the lines for one of them was like floral to the point of confrontation. And I'm like, who thinks that I want to eat that? Because that makes me think of a Macy's perfume counter that all you try to do is fly by.
Yeah.
He's got one that's like for sad, lonely people or something. The whole description is about how lonely you'll feel when you're eating it. I'm like, wow, how is that appetizing?
Can you ask him to pay more attention to the unsubscribe list? Because
He's got a subscribe list? Oh my God. Guy, I am so sorry. Stan, if you're listening, leave my guests alone.
I'm not going to put that stuff in my mouth. I just want to be abundantly clear.
You don't.
And that's
how
many times have you said that? Like 0. Like that's almost the first time you've said that.
Well, I'm apologizing for him. I will take care of the unsubscribe list on my own.
Thank you.
Reese, just take my advice and stay clear. I'm so sorry you guys got entangled in any of this. It's my fault for not calling the cops.
All right. Thank you, JR.
We will talk again
JR,
soon.
I love you, pal. Good to see you.
Really appreciate, but love you right back. Appreciate it, guys. Really, I do.
All right, boys.
See you, buddy. Bye.
See ya. That does it for this time. Appreciate you listening. A massive thanks to my 3 incredible guests, Cheryl Texiera, Reese Rios, and Bob Clendenin. Thanks a million, guys, for your insight. Really so great. Like the show? Want to hear more cool guests? Well, clicking the follow button will make sure of that. And give us a review if you're so inclined. It helps us out a lot. You can also drop us a line at our email, hello@roughtumblemedia.com. That's hello@rufftumblemedia.com. And Stan, if you're listening, please call in. It's time for another Talking To. Join me again for another episode of Assume I'm an Idiot. I'm your pal JR. Catch you again soon.